All right, this is going to be our first attempt at shooting this video. Look, it's been so long. It has been so long since we did a podcast episode, so I'm just super juiced that we're doing one at all. All right. Second thing I want to say is, how have you been?
Well, we are recovered. I'm recovered from COVID. Jermaine says he didn't have it, even though we were with each other the whole time. But we're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Much better now.
Yeah. So we definitely want to talk to you guys about the trip to Peru that we just did a couple of weeks ago. We left on June, I want to say 12th, right? And got back on the 23rd, technically the 24th. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning.
It was hard.
Yeah, what was hard?
Just traveling isn't fun, so.
Traveling isn't fun.
The airplane part isn't fun.
The airplane part wasn't fun.
The getting to and from. Getting there is exciting, of course. You're like, I'll wait for the plane, I'll do all this stuff, pack, and then you have to come home, and that part, you're just tired, and you just want to be home.
I hear that.
Yeah.
However, I do want to say that this trip we did get our first chance to use one of the lounges. We got to use the American Express lounge. Now, I'm not sponsored, right? So there is no link at the bottom of this video. Technically, I can create one. But we got the American Express Platinum card in 2021 in like November. And since then we've been wanting to use it, but when we went to Egypt, we just weren't even thinking about that. We were just trying to get to Egypt, so we weren't even thinking about that. And so when we came back, we were like, we got to learn how to use these lounges because it's a perk that we don't even know about. And now that we know about the credit cards and the rewards points and lounges, now we know about them. Shout out to Travel Black with Kumi Raouf. And so we did get a chance to partake in the free good food at the airport. How much is food at the airport?
It's true. It is true. So free alcoholic beverages.
Come on.
Free food. They have Wi-Fi. Yeah, we have mimosas, rosé. I had some Chardonnay on our return. So yeah, we got to fly into Miami. We did a red eye from SFO to Miami. Landed in the morning, so we went to the lounge in Miami and had breakfast, had mimosas. It was great place to wait out our 3-hour layover. And then so we didn't have to find airport food.
Which is not always nasty or
no, and the food,
anything.
I will say, the buffet there was surprisingly good. It wasn't just like, scrambled eggs and toast and like when you do like the hotel American spread, they had like really good food. They have a good chef. They have, I forget what there was that morning, but they had like a chorizo, or something scrambled or something. They had, I forget what else.
I want to say they had the potatoes.
Yeah,
there's potatoes in
but
there.
Really good, well-made food.
And some pastries.
I think there was pancakes or waffles or something.
Something bread.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So again, what was good about that was that it was free. Once you get, I'm not sure which cards allow you to have the American Express lounges, but I believe it could be all of them because American Express just is not free. But American Express Lounge, you get the card, and now there are different lounges at the airport. Again, never heard about this until we went to this workshop, 2019. And so when we went to the airport, we looked for the lounge, find the lounge. We had to log in on our phones. Once we logged in, then we went to the reception desk. They let us inside, and you have free food, and you can hang out in there. Was it like a 3-hour limit?
So yeah, you have to check in, and it can't be more than 3 hours before your flight. So 3 hours before. They don't want you hanging out there all day, just
Right.
like chilling. But yeah, good setup, comfortable. Now it was packed.
There were a lot of people.
Why are there so many? I thought this was supposed to be exclusive.
All right.
But apparently everybody knows about
Apparently
this.
everybody got American Express. Hello?
And I think, they let you bring guests. And now as an American Express card holder, I'm like, screw that. No guests allowed. Okay?
Forget your guests.
You hear that, Amex? I'm like, it was way too many people in there. When we went there for breakfast, not so bad. We were able to find seats and eat. When we returned from Peru, we were in Miami, and it was like 4 p.m.-ish. Oh my gosh, packed. Like the line for the food, the dining area seating was full, so we had to like go to the workspace area and just kind of sit there, which is not a place where it's set up for you to eat because the tables are so like small. So yeah, I would say that was the only downside. Was I'm sure there are hours where it's going to be busier, like right in the dinner evening hours, I guess, times that are popular for people to fly in and fly out. But it was nonetheless, it was a good perk, and luckily for us, we flew American Airlines, and that was the same terminal in Miami where the Amex lounge was. So we didn't have to, it wasn't in a separate terminal. I'm sure that can be a thing. If you were flying like JetBlue or another airline, it would not have been close. So it worked out for us, and maybe we could pay attention to that in the future, just kind of what terminals the lounge is in. But if you have like a 3-hour layover, there's time to navigate the airport and stuff to go find the lounge.
Which again can be key if the food that you eat on the plane isn't particularly exciting, or you don't want to spend a bunch of money on the food at the airport because they can charge you, right? Like $4 for a Gatorade, $20 for a burger, $5, $7 for fries, right? Stuff like that. And so it does cut down on the cost that you ultimately pay, on food at the airport. And so definitely want to encourage you guys to do that.
Alcohol at the airport.
And alcohol, right?
So that was great. Got a little buzz before our trip home. And then our flight was delayed, so I just got to sleep it off on the airport floor, but
Right. That was a layover for us. Well, it wasn't a part of layover. It was one of the planes before it could board. It wasn't working, so they needed us to wait until it got fixed, and then eventually they were like, "You got to
flying right now is risky." So we came out relatively unscathed from that because I heard that they were canceling flights left and right. I hear this summer is going to be rough, so
recession stuff, huh?
But we went to Peru.
Yes.
So that is where we went. And this was a bucket list item for me. Last year, 2021, we did Egypt, which was a bucket list item for Jermaine. And so this year we did my UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is Machu Picchu, which it's okay, it's fine. Not everybody knows about it or is aware that it's one of the, wonders of the world. It is. And so what we did was we did a hike, and it was a trek. And so it's called the Inca Trail Trek, and it was like 26 miles, which over 4 days doesn't sound bad.
Doesn't sound bad at all.
Which I thought we would be fine, because I'm like, okay, we are totally able to hike 7 miles a day.
Listen here.
That's not a big deal.
That was an underestimation, and it's because the hikes that we normally do are like between 6 and 10 miles on a Saturday morning. We're usually done in about 4 hours, right? Like, honestly, when we were talking about it ahead of time, I was like, don't even like sweat this hike. Don't get too concerned about your shoes and your socks and I gotta have my hiking poles. Like, listen, this hike is gonna be 26 miles. We do 26 miles in like 2 hikes. But let's say between like 5 and 6 hours. Like this is gonna be so light.
Yeah, I think
like please kill all that.
On the high end, we've done like 12 to 16 miles before in a day. And so we definitely were thinking,
piece of cake,
breaking it up. But of course, there's altitude. We were 11,000 plus feet up. They use meters out there, and so I was a little thrown off. I'm like, well, we're like 3,900, 3,800 meters. I'm like, what is that? That's not that high. Yeah,
so actually, that is pretty high.
Bless my little U.S. educated heart. I'm like, meters? What are meters?
Right.
But anyway, so
parking meters.
It was, it was definitely an experience. We camped, so we were outdoors, camping, sleeping outside. We had a tour. There was a group of us. There were 10 of us, and we had porters and our tour guides, and they cooked for us and helped set up camp, break down camp, carry most of our belongings. We just had our day packs, which just had what we needed throughout the day in there. Water, sunscreen, bug spray, and then really
snacks.
All your layers that you have to wear, because that was another piece. So there was the elevation that made it more challenging, but there was also the weather, and it's cold
in the mornings
and in the evenings, and then it's hot during the day.
But not scorching hot.
Not scorching hot, but you're moving, right? You're exercising. So in order for you, it could be 65 degrees. You could get hot at 65-degree weather. So, but it wasn't particularly cloudy or overcast. It was sunny, and so we were having to I literally had on 4 layers, and throughout the morning, when you're warming up, you're taking off things, so you're putting them in your backpack. And that is something here in California hiking, we have our shirt and our sweater.
Right. And honestly, when I go on hikes in the mornings, I don't even wear a sweater. I just say, look, I'm going to be cold until we get started, and then I'm going to be hot.
And you just warm up.
Just like going to the club, right? You don't go to the club in a whole outfit with a dress under it. You got you got a whole button up with the jacket. Look, leave the jacket in the car, right? But when you're out there and you wake up at 3:30,
right?
Amen. Okay, waking up at 3:30, you get started walking around 4:30 in the morning. There was a couple mornings and a couple nights that were particularly cold, and so you don't want to get out there and say, I'm all right, all I need is my t-shirt. You're gonna have your long johns on, you're gonna have a jacket on, you're gonna wear a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna have your puff jacket over that. I had wool socks, which were great, and then I accidentally brought gloves, which turned out to be a lifesaver for me.
I didn't. I did not bring gloves.
Because, it can get cold.
Those hands were freezing.
Yeah, especially when, so first thing in the morning, but in the evening, or when around 4, 5, sun starts to go down and you're still hiking and you're up high on a peak and they're standing around talking and you're it is getting cold.
Yeah, I know time about
I'm yes, I see it. But no, it was, so it was called Alpaca Tours. There's a lot of tour companies out there, but Alpaca Tours is a well-known one out there, and they were amazing. The food was great. Their knowledge, our tour guide was great. Our porters, I think that was really important too, is to have a tour guide company that can provide the experience, and then all we have to do is make sure we're moving our bodies and staying alive. They're telling us where to go, they have everything planned out, because really we had no energy for anything else.
Right.
It's we needed all of that help because it's okay, we're sitting here, I'm eating now, okay, fine, just tell me where to go and what I need to do.
Right. And it was a genuine concern before we got started. How are we going to not argue for 4 days in the wilderness? How are we going to be able to communicate well enough?
You're cold,
to not
tired, hungry.
Right,
It's
early,
hard.
it's late,
Oh,
right?
gosh.
All those things.
You're
Like,
not
dude, like
sleeping
we are about to box in Peru.
That-
But this might as well be called the
Right,
Rumble in
like
the
how
Jungle.
do we ensure that this is because you don't do something like that and go, this isn't going to be challenging. I think we signed up for a challenge, and it's like, okay, so how do we, as a couple, ensure that we aren't taking things out on each other because, all the
It's normal.
before mentioned things. And I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
I would say there was no energy. I had no fight in me. I think there probably were some times here and there, but it wasn't anything that was
right, long lasting. I mean, honestly, part of the thought that I was having was, just like approaching when COVID happened, right? When COVID happens, it goes, okay, we're not about to argue as much as we want to argue because it's COVID. And the reality is everything is changing. We are not comfortable. We're scared. We're concerned. We're worried. We got friends that are worried, family that are worried. So I'm about to take a step back from all of the high emotions that I would naturally have to regular stimuli and say, hey, listen, we are in a foreign country in 3,000 meters above sea level. We can't just be acting like, hey, I'm gonna need you to shut up because it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, hey, you know what? We gotta watch all this temper stuff because we are about to be very uncomfortable for a prolonged period of time.
Or not take it personally.
Exactly.
Clearly there's a lot of other things that we're experiencing that we don't even know what the other person's going through, right? This is all brand new territory.
All of it.
We've never camped together before.
No.
This is a whole new experience.
We haven't hiked this long, this high.
Both experiencing different things at different times. The times he's colder than I am, so the cold isn't, or I'm colder, I'm more tired. He's hungry, I'm not. But I think, being in a group was important. We're all kind of on the same page. Important. And we're seeing, this is hard for a number of people. So
for different reasons.
And I think that was showing everyone's experiencing something different. And one of the things also was just how much of a mental challenge it was, too, that, it was a very internal process for me. He could be ahead of me or behind me. People could be wherever. And I'm just I just need to I'm talking to myself. I'm enjoying the views. I'm processing. I am in Peru in a mountain. Sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's what the heck am I doing? Why am I here? But it was, and I think that part, you had to focus so much on each step, literally.
Literally.
There wasn't time for me to be where's Jermaine? Why aren't we holding hands? It's no, there is none of that. We are here to we need to pay attention and survive out here.
Now, this does not mean that she was trying to hold hands on the mountain while we were trying to hike for 26 miles. But it does mean that we weren't going to argue about it when I was girl, if you don't keep walking and just grab onto that, your hiking sticks. Because the reality was, like we said, it was a very difficult in different terrain. Any hike that we've done, there have been minimal steps. And the steps are created on these nice logs that people nail together, and they're either they're round or they're flat, but usually it's probably I would say less than a tenth of the hike that we're actually using, or you're probably just walking on gravel 90% of the time. On this trail, we were walking on these stones that were steps for, I would say, 70 to 90% of the time. So you're actually not just walking on gravel, you're walking on all of these huge rocks that are placed out there.
Uneven surfaces.
Uneven. It's not Americanized. It's not first world eyes. These are just stones that are kind of smooth, but they're definitely not even. And we're going up and down, right? And we're going, steep slopes sometimes, and sometimes they're pretty straight. What they would say like an Inca flat.
Yeah,
right?
So the Inca flat is like rolling. So there's some flat, some down, some up. So it was either that, the Inca flat, steep incline, or steep going down. And I think our trails here, like you mentioned, we're lucky, especially in California in the Bay Area. Like, we go to places that are known for great hiking, and so these are trails that are well maintained by the Parks and Rec and East Bay Regional Parks and the state parks, and we have rangers, and we have all these people that are maintaining, and they do maintain their trails. But it's, like I said, we are in mountains that I've never seen mountains like these mountains before.
Never this high.
And so I'm like, wow, like these are, like, so I've never hiked in a mountain. That's what I learned. I go, we go in, we've gone,
Big
we've
hills.
hiked as far south as Carmel, and we've gone Mount Tamalpais. We've done Colfax over by Sac. Like, we've traveled around, we've done hills and mountains, I believe, to be mountains. Even just last weekend, we did, just this past Saturday, we did, I think it was considered Mount Tamalpais State Park, but it was near Stinson Beach. And so we went uphill for 30, 40 minutes. It was just uphill. And so there's a part that's like, okay, that's a mountain. But I remember walking that on Saturday and being like, I don't need to stop, because this is nothing compared to what those mountains were and how steep and endless they were. So yeah, really pushing our bodies and our minds to limits that we have not pushed them to. And it was definitely an experience and an accomplishment. And of course, we did 3 nights. So on the 4th day, we wake up really early. Our bodies are done on day 4. We wake up.
Well, they're pretty much actually dying on day 3 because day 2 was particularly steep.
We did day 2 was Dead Women's Pass, and that's the hardest day. And I think the day was 11 hours total, and it was the most elevation that we covered. It was the steepest. It was the most uphill, the most downhill.
And probably the longest day of hiking.
It was the longest day.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add is that on day 2, my left knee started bothering me. And it was bothering me in a way that it hadn't really bothered me before. It's not really my knee, like the bone, as much as it felt like it was like a ligament somewhere around my knee and the inside of my knee. And so that day was the first day I first started to feel like it was hurting to bend my leg a little bit. Like, either I had to bend it a lot, which is bring it up to my chest, or I just need to try to keep it straight. But if I bent it kinda in here somewhere, then it was hurting me. And so it started hurting me that evening, which meant that I had to use my right leg a lot more than I planned to. So that day of the longest and steepest hikes and stuff, I used my right leg a whole lot. So the 3rd day, going downhill, we did a lot of downhill on the 3rd day. Going downhill, my right leg was so sore from the day before. And so it was really painful just from being sore. It wasn't like my knee was hurting or my ankle was hurting or something like that. Yeah. Just soreness on particularly my right leg was killing me on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
So the 4th day, it was still sore with a little bit of added extra issues with our bodies that we started to experience.
Yeah, I think the exhaustion, because I think there's a lot of adrenaline and you're excited, and day 1, day 2 was the hardest. Day 3, at this point, you've had 2 nights where you haven't really slept, but you've exerted your body all day long. So I think the fatigue and the exhaustion, just the wearing down of our body by day 3 was just we got to our tents early on day on that evening, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna like walk down. It's kind of steep to this site," and I was like, "All right, I'll see you guys."
She stayed in the tent.
I stayed in the tent because I was like, my body, I have not slept, and my body is so tired. I haven't felt this type of tired before, so I did stay. I don't regret it. I was able to sleep because that night I didn't sleep, so I was able to nap, and just just fatigue and soreness, because we've experienced soreness, but usually what happens when we've done a hard hike, we come home, okay?
Home, let's just focus on that word.
We come home and we shower and we lay down.
Yep.
And it's like
in a bed.
We have cars.
Come on.
We drive home.
Right, grab something from the kitchen.
Oh, yeah. I go, take a nap. Just like this past hike, I got home and I told Jermaine, I'll see you in a little bit. I'm going to sleep. 3 hours later. So this was so different because you do an exhausting hike and then you're camping and you're like, and it's cold. So your body never relaxes completely because it's like, you're just like, you're going from being hot, sweaty, tired to now it's cold. So now I need to layer up, no showers, right? So now I'm like putting on all these clothes over my sweaty, dirty body. Oh my gosh.
Right, she wants to cuddle. Listen, the reality is,
there was
on the
no
third
cuddling.
night, yes, there was no cuddling. On the third night, they said you guys can take a cold shower if you want to. Now, because I'm crazy, I have experience with cold showers, right? Now, this is not just, teenager stuff, but I'm talking about cold showers because they're like, watching YouTube videos, right? And all the people are like, oh man, like if you could do cold showers, you can like be great in life. So I've done some cold showers. I know how to do this. What you got to do is you got to start slow and get your feet wet first. And then you kind of step into the water more and more, the more that the longer that you're in the shower, right? So your feet are wet, then you get your shins wet, then you get your thighs wet, then you get your stomach wet, right? Get your chest wet. Okay, then you probably get to your neck and you're like, oh, okay, it's a whole lot, right? But the reality was I ran out of soap by the time I got to my shins, right? Because they didn't have soap like that. Like there wasn't a bunch of soap that they had for us. And then I don't even know what kind it was. That's not as important. But the reality is I didn't have a lot of soap. So I was trying to have a good little situation going on. And I had enough to get my armpits. But because I've done hiking, when I went to Ethiopia 2012, we had, it was a mission trip. There were some things that we did there that I could have totally used here, but I wasn't thinking it was going to be that complicated. But reality is that we did have, someone fortunately brought a dry microfiber towel, the kind that you could it was a big one actually, so it's really just good for drying. But you could get small ones that are good for washing and drying. So we did have one of those. I got to dry off with that. So that allowed me to have a shower on the third night. But yeah, we definitely felt funky the other days, felt like we weren't getting much of a cleansing, a bathing or anything, much rest. Because some nights I didn't sleep. Yeah. Honestly, maybe slept for 2 hours and I was mad at my body. But that fourth day, it was compounded by the fact that I was super excited about getting back to that hotel. Mm-hmm. I was super excited about having Wi-Fi again. I was super excited about seeing the Warriors play that afternoon. I was super excited about the food that we were gonna eat. I was super excited about sleeping in a bed that I couldn't wait until we were done with Machu Picchu. We woke up the fourth morning and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna go by so fast because look, Machu Picchu's an hour away and then we're gonna be there for another 10 minutes, right? And then we're gonna get on the bus and we're gonna go back home and we're gonna be in the
we got up at 3:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And we had to go and wait at the gates before they opened them. And because there are gates and we never encountered gates, we were like, so we're here, right? We've arrived. Mm-hmm.
As soon as we get through these gates, right? Machu Picchu is going to be on the other side.
We're hiking with headlamps on because it's so dark. Uh-huh. It's cold. So we're going and we're hiking for an hour. And it's why are we hiking for so long? Our bodies are so done.
Machu Picchu better be here in the next 10 steps.
So we do this long old hike. At one part, we're literally climbing up this wall of rocks that are going like up like this.
So frustrating.
So we climb up that, and then we're like, okay.
Machu Picchu's right here, right?
So they're like, that's Machu Picchu over there. You guys have a great view of it from here. And that was actually...
Machu Picchu was so far in the distance.
It
okay?
was. But we got to see it, and that's part of doing the hike, is we got to see it from that
distance
and from that view, which was beautiful. We have a great pictures. I sat down and had some snacks, and it was emotional for me.